Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. What is going on? Thank you very much for being here. Tuesday, September 30th, 8 a.m. on the dot. Waited for that countdown to go too, because you guys know how some of you are here. All right. I'm 18 seconds late. I got to hear from everybody. Hey, Slee, where were you 18 seconds ago? Thank you very much for being here. Appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Got a fun show lined up today. Got a lot going on today. No guest, so you're just going to have to deal with me for the next hour. I appreciate you guys hanging out. We got a lot to hit on. Media day takeaways from yesterday. Everybody talked, so it was great to actually hear from a lot of these players. So we got some good storylines that I think we're going to be able to walk away with. I appreciate you guys being here. I got to give you guys a couple reminders here. Something I haven't done. I'm not doing my job here lately. Can you guys please do me a favor? If you've yet to subscribe to this channel, help us close in on 32,000 subscribers. I think last season alone, I got just under 10,000 new subscribers, probably around 9,000, something along those lines. But if you guys can help, I'd greatly appreciate you guys subscribe to the channel. Monday through Friday, obviously, the show is back. We started yesterday. Technically, we started on Friday. So thank you for hanging out. Thank you for being here. I'm going to give everyone a quick rundown of what we got going on for the show, and then we're going to get going. Got some reggae playing in the background here that I could hear that you guys can't hear. I don't know. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? I don't know. A distraction? Not a distraction? I'm not sure. I would turn it down a little bit on my headphones. Let me give everyone just a quick idea what we got going on for today. And whether you're watching this live or you end up watching this a little bit later, however you consume the YouTube here, I appreciate you guys being here. Okay. I got some takeaways that I'm going to spend some time on, some media day takeaways. I kind of had some expectations of what to walk in with, what I was thinking was going to happen, some of the different players that I really wanted to hear from, and the way that kind of all unfolded. I thought Austin Reaves' presser, spent some time on a couple of his quotes. I think clearly he's been the focus of conversation for a lot of people so far. I guess you could say, how do I put this? It has been, yeah, that's right. Somebody's telling me on here, I got 33,000 subscribers, not 32,000. So let's not go backwards. Let's work closer to 34,000 subscribers. That's what I meant to say. But Austin Reaves has obviously been a topic here for a while. So because he's been a topic, I thought there were a couple really, really good clips I wanted to take away from him. So we'll spend a little bit of time on Austin Reaves, specifically a question that was asked about playing with Luka Doncic, and I thought he had the appropriate answer there. Are we underestimating the Lakers? Kendrick Perkins was on ESPN yesterday. They're doing their NBA Today show, and dude's got very, very high expectations. I don't know. It's a little bit of a reminder that, hey, this team is actually pretty good, and they can make some real noise this upcoming year. Maybe I'm underestimating the Lakers here. I don't feel like I'm underestimating them. I think I'm just kind of waiting for the season to start. And I think there's a lot of question marks there. We'll hit on that. Final year for LeBron. Listen, nobody has any idea what LeBron's going to do. Nobody truly has any idea what LeBron's got in his mind, what he's thinking, how long he's going to play in the NBA. But man, there's a little bit of a feeling for me. I walked away. I'm like, could this be it for LeBron? Maybe I've said that the last couple of years. So we'll talk a little about LeBron. Also, his thoughts on the roster. I think a lot of people also want to talk less about LeBron's future and get LeBron's thoughts and opinion of what he thinks of Deandre Ayton and Marcus Smart, Jake LaRavia, and some of these other guys. He addressed that as well yesterday, too. We'll talk about that. Kawhi Leonard. I got some NBA stories I'm going to hit on. One of them, Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi denies the allegations. I mean, it's not like you were going to expect Kawhi yesterday to say, yep, I'm guilty. I accepted money that was a way to avoid the salary cap, and I took a lot of money from aspiration. Not that anybody was expecting him to say that, but he did address the media at training camp yesterday. So we'll spend a little time on Kawhi Leonard. Got a couple things around the NBA. Got a couple things around MLB playoffs. Very little on MLB playoffs other than the fact that in 2 hours, MLB playoffs are going to start. So I hope you guys are all, if you're at work, awesome. Go ahead and throw the games on in the background. A couple big games coming up today. So it should be actually a fun wild card series. I think there's a lot of good matchups. That's our game plan for today, my people. That's our game plan. and looking forward to break it down for everybody. All right, let me take a look here. Let's see what people got to say. Morning, Slee. I haven't been here in like 2 months. Brian, you're not the only one, to be honest with you. I don't know how much I've been here for the last 2 months or so. Listen, I'm trying to train everybody. This is a Laker/NBA channel. That's what I'm trying to train everybody on. And the further we go with this channel, the more will people be like, oh, yeah, that's right. NBA, Lakers, Sliwa, August and September, put some missing person on the back of a milk carton because you might not find me in the months of August and September. Let me get what's the streaming moving forward? Monday through Friday, starting at 8 a.m. So you're good now. Now we're into the grind all the way through July 31st. We're going to be here every single day, plus Laker games. So that's going to be the plan there. All right, let me see if I can get a couple more of these here. See a couple more of these comments. Welcome back, Slee. Enjoy the coffee. Many doubt the moves made this offseason, but I like them. Dalton Connect, Jared Vanderbilt bounced back this season. Go Lakers. If you guys saw my show yesterday, you saw that I kind of did my own starting lineup. Maybe I went a little extreme here. I put Vando in the starting lineup. So if people are talking about, what certain guys can bring to the table, Vando, I think for the balance that I think we're all looking for, Vando might get an opportunity, maybe not. We'll see what else we have. All right. Is that true? Is this real? Starbucks closing 400 stores? All right, that's new to me. I did not read that. I will tell you this. If Starbucks is closing stores, now I'm worried. Anybody else closing stores, but if it's Starbucks, it's like, damn, maybe things aren't going the way they're supposed to be going. Okay, let's get the show started. Appreciate you guys being here. Please subscribe to the channel. I was wrong with how many subscribers. I have 33,000 subscribers. Help us get to 34,000 was a number that I was trying to say. Real quick here on Media Day takeaways. So a couple things happen. I think for me, when I get ready to go to Media Day, is it the 10th Media Day I've been to? I don't know if it's the 10th Media Day I've been to for the Lakers, but I know this year is the start of my 10th year covering the Los Angeles Lakers. So a little bit of a milestone there. I'm kind of walking in, and whatever the expectations were, I'll tell you a little bit of what I walked away with Media Day. First off, very kind of quiet, not crazy at all. A lot of these people that, put on the event, I was telling them after Media Day was done, a lot of these people work for the Lakers public relations department. I've known them for years. It was straight business. Everything got done. It was prompt, nothing crazy, no curveballs. And before you know it, Media Day was over. Very business-like was, I think, the way that I would describe it. I know walking in, there were certain people I really wanted to hear from. Austin Reaves was probably on the front of my list of who I wanted to hear from. Listen, Luka, I already know what Luka's going to say. Luka, we also got a chance to hear from him after he signed his extension. And Luka's not going to give these long, in-depth answers. And there really isn't too many question marks around Luka. Luka's going to be here for a long time. That's now the man driving the Los Angeles Lakers franchise. I mean, listen, you want to know who's running the Los Angeles Lakers? They gave a list of, in order, everybody that's going to be talking for Media Day. Do you know who was headlining number one on that list? It was Luka, not LeBron. There's really nobody else, but it wasn't LeBron. It was Luka. It's his team. The keys are in his hands, and whatever, everybody kind of knows that with Luka. I wanted to hear from Austin Reaves. I wanted to hear what LeBron had to say. I just kind of was curious about, LeBron's position situation. We haven't heard much from him. What does the future look like? What does he think of the roster? I wanted to hear from Deandre Ayton. I wanted to hear from Marcus Smart. I wanted to hear from Dalton Connect. Those were probably the 5 guys that I was most curious to kind of get their thoughts, their opinion on the upcoming season. And I have kind of angles for all these guys. But let's start here with the first one, which is Austin Reaves. There's some quotes that came from his presser yesterday that I thought were interesting. that I thought make for a great conversation, and I want to play a couple of them as we sit here. First thing, that I'll make mention of is he did address not signing the extension. I think this might be the second time that he's addressed not signing the extension. The first time he addressed not signing the extension, I want to say, was with Dan Weinke of The Athletic and talked a little bit about it. Listen, Austin Reaves is a big kind of conversation right now around the Lakers, and we'll see how long it goes for, and when we get to a point where it's just more about basketball and it's less about should the Lakers keep him, should they not. I guess one way of shutting everybody up is Austin Reaves starts off with a great season. Him, Luka, LeBron are playing great basketball together, and that question of, hey, can they have success together just goes away. But we do know this with Austin Reaves. When he did address, hypothetically, when he addressed some of the chatter about his extension, I want to read something that he said yesterday. He said, if you would have told me even 3 years ago that I was going to have the opportunity to make that type of money, remember he turned down 4 years, $89.2 million, then I would have jumped on it in a heartbeat. But it's a business at the end of the day. That doesn't mean that I don't want to be in LA. I want to be in LA for my whole career, and hopefully we can make that happen. Reaves he's got a couple interesting things going because he's got the contract that he's got to figure out. He turned down an almost $90 million contract. There were some reports, I saw this, sources from rival teams expect Austin Reaves to make $35 to $40 million a year when he becomes an unrestricted free agent. So there's a lot of people out there saying, damn, this dude's going to make a lot of money. Are you sure you want this much money going to Austin Reaves? He had a playoff performance that people left with a bad taste in their mouth. And, the reality is, everything he's done so far in his career, it seems like nothing is good enough, even though he has surpassed everybody's expectations. So I really, really wanted to kind of key in on for a quick second on Austin Reaves. I want to play something for you guys here. I got something queued up that I'm going to play here real quick. And this is on Austin Reaves specifically, talking about why he thinks he can have success with Luka and the Lakers can still have success and everything else. So let me play this. This is coming from the presser yesterday. I'm going to share my screen with you guys here real quick. And I'm going to give a quick shout out to BK, Brian Kamenitsky, who asked the question about Luka and Austin Reaves playing together. So take a quick listen here, and we'll react to it together.
The people that say it can't work, I believe it, at one point last year when we were all playing together with the roster that we had, everybody was, really high on us, and everybody thought that we had an opportunity to win a championship. So when you lose one, series, the way that we lost it, we obviously didn't play the way that we wanted to. I didn't play the way that I wanted to. It's frustrating, but, before that, when we was, had our 20 games together, everybody in the media and everything was saying, oh, this team can compete for a championship. So I don't know why that changes off of one series.
All right, I'm gonna stop right there. Let's kind of break down what Reaves said there. When he was answering that question, I was kind of sitting back and I'm like, is there anything that he's saying that's not factual? Let me kind of break this down for everybody. All right. I think that going into the playoffs, what were most people saying? Were most people saying Luka and Austin Reaves is not going to work? Maybe they were. Maybe just the noise wasn't as loud. But were most people saying, by the way, this is also the guy, and I'm counting myself, that for the last couple of shows that I've done, I'm starting to kind of, I think maybe come to the realization of, if they're really going to build the type of team they need around Luka, Austin Reaves just might have to be trade bait because it's the best asset that they have in order to kind of build the team that they're looking for. We'll see what the Lakers end up doing. But is there anything that Austin Reaves said right there that's not accurate? Go back to when the playoffs were about to start and the Lakers gave themselves, what did they? They got to 50 wins, and I want to say they sealed up the number 3 seed before they even had to play Sunday's game. So they were now able to give guys rest, and now they didn't have to worry about, I mean, it had been so long since the Lakers didn't have to really worry about, um, you know, the 7 through 10 seed and having to play in the play-in tournament, and you don't get that almost 5-6 days off. Lakers had the proper rest. They had home court advantage. They showed every team in the Western Conference and in the NBA, it didn't matter. They could go to Denver and go win a big game. They could beat the Houston Rockets. They played 2 games against the Oklahoma City Thunder back-to-back, and if Luka doesn't get thrown out, they might have swept OKC in those 2 games. They showed everyone with how flawed their roster was that they can still compete, and they're going to be a problem in the Western Conference. And the point that Austin Reaves is trying to make here is, where was everybody saying that I can't play with Luka and this is not going to work going into the playoffs? He's not wrong. You know, I think, who was it? There was another person, maybe it was Vando. There was another person that kind of had a similar vibe. He's like, everybody here, everyone was picking the Lakers to win in the playoffs. Everyone was really high on the Lakers in the playoffs. And then we lose one series. Maybe it was a bad matchup. Maybe we finally got exposed. Maybe JJ Redick had it was his first coaching experience. Whatever excuse you want to make, the Lakers got ran in the postseason. But most people out there were picking the Lakers, and in one playoff round in 5 games, it's like everyone just kind of lost their tune and they lost that momentum. And it was like, nope, Lakers can't win. Austin Reaves is a bum. And it changed very, very quickly. I think kind of the beauty in the situation that the Lakers are in right now is they're going to walk into a season with, look, there's a decent amount of doubt. There's a decent amount of doubt in Austin Reaves. And whether you have doubt in him or not, I still think there's tremendous amount of value in Austin Reaves around the NBA. And I think that whether the Lakers decide to keep him or they decide to trade him, maybe they, allow these, I know what they're going to do. They're going to allow these next 3 months or so. I mean, we just heard Rob Pelinka say this a couple of days ago on Thursday when they had the presser. We heard Pelinka talk about how it's going to take 20, 25 games to have a good idea of who you are, what you have, what the team looks like, to make any kind of determination whether this roster, what kind of changes that this roster needs. But I do know this. I'm not sure if just my knee-jerk reaction, Austin Reaves and Luka Doncic long-term, and having that much money going to those 2 players. I mean, Luka, it is what it is. The guy will make 50 plus million. He'll be worth every dime. But let's just say Austin Reaves is $35 million in the open market. Do you want $85 million going to that backcourt? Or they're just, you only have a certain amount of money that's got to go to other places. I think it's a fair point by Austin Reaves. I think he's going to probably have a chip on his shoulder of what he's going to try to prove this upcoming season. I think he's going to certainly do everything he can to prove not only does he have value, but he has value with the Lakers. It sounds like he desperately wants to be a Los Angeles Laker, but I think he also understands that it's not under his control and he has no idea how a lot of this stuff is going to play out. I have as one of my topics here, are we underestimating the Lakers? I'm going to play something from Kendrick Perkins here in a second. Kendrick Perkins is definitely not underestimating the Lakers. He's talking about them with the utmost confidence. I'll play that in just a second, but I do want to see some people's reaction to the video that I played and read some of your thoughts. By the way, if you put something in here when I started the conversation, I don't know if I'll be able to go that far back with some of the comments. So just kind of update your comments if you got something that you want me to look at. Let's see what we got here. A lot of stuff on Deandre Ayton. I don't blame you guys on that. Laker Nation turned on Austin real fast. I got to be honest with you. I think that's a very, very, very accurate comment. Everybody turned on him. And he was this like the golden child for the Lakers. He came out of nowhere, came up through the system. He had a very, very favorable contract when he signed that first extension. Everybody thought, my God, how's this guy not making more money than that? Rui's making more money than Austin Reaves. And now we kind of sit here, and it didn't take very long all of a sudden for a lot of people to turn on Reaves. And I will say this. I don't think there's a lot of Laker fans where any of this is personal. I think it just has more to do with Luka came in a trade, and because Luka came in a trade, it's that pairing between those two players. I think it has a lot more to do with that than anything else. Let me take a look here at a couple more. Coaches can game plan to attack your weakness, AR defense. Okay, so going back to the defensive side of things, that series against the Timberwolves was god awful. Rudy Gobert was looking like prime Shaquille O'Neal. Chris, you know what's funny? Really, Rudy Gobert didn't look like Shaq until game 5, the elimination game. If I remember correctly, Minnesota shot, it was like 15, 16% from the three-point line. They were awful. They were really, really bad. And Rudy Gobert had a 20-20 game, and Anthony Edwards was bad. I don't think Jaden McDaniels was that good. I don't think Julius Randle was that good, and they still beat the Lakers. So it tells you a little bit about just how that matchup was just awful for the Lakers. All right, let's read this one. The one thing that's irrelevant in what AR said is how they did playing together in the regular season. Regular season basketball is not playoff basketball. You're not wrong there, but I think the point that he's trying to make is, how did everyone change their tune over a 5-game stretch? I think that's his point. I think the point AR is making is he didn't hear that many people saying that Austin Reaves and Luka Doncic and LeBron James, if you want to put all three of those players together, that they can't have success together until after that playoff series. But you are judged by the playoffs. So I get also what Westwood is saying here. I mean, let me give you guys a good example. I thought JJ Redick had a phenomenal regular season. I mean, I thought by the time the season was over, or the regular season was over, I was just like, what the heck? I mean, incredible what JJ Redick accomplished after his first regular season. By the time the playoffs were done, I'm like, this dude is inexperienced. He's immature. I mean, I thought just some of his antics, I guess you want to call it, storming off in a presser before a game, I'm like, bro, grow up. Like, what are you doing? Like, these are fair questions. You did something that no other head coach in the history of the NBA playoffs have done, where you played one lineup for an entire second half. How do you not expect people to question that? And then also question, do you know what you're doing? All that took was 5 games. So I kind of understand too those that are, critical in regards to that. All right, let me read a couple more comments here, and then I do want to play something as well from Kendrick Perkins that I saw yesterday as well. All right, experience counts. Let's see. Because he can't bait fouls in the playoffs. A lot of people are saying he wasn't healthy. So let's just say this. If he wasn't healthy, then he's got a lot to prove, once we get to the regular season as well. I disagree. Laker fans don't turn on AR. Small but vocal percentage of pod watches turned on AR. The fans love AR. I'll be honest with you, John. That's not the vibe that I get. The vibe I get, and I listen, I love reading the comments, and I'm curious about the comments, but I would tell you at best, 50% of Laker fans want to keep AR past this contract. 50% of Laker fans would say, don't trade AR. That's at best. And that's just my gauge based off of when the season ended, when we went into free agency, doing the shows all the way through the start of August, and then doing shows now. My vibe is about 50% would say, yeah, we're good to go with Austin Reaves. And I think there's a larger percentage than you think that that does not kind of have that same mindset. All right, let's see what else we got here. There's always a scapegoat for labor. It happened to Powell, it happened to AD, and now it's Austin. Okay, fair enough. Now, I will say this. I think there's also a lot of people out there. There is a lot of actually let me kind of reframe that. Maybe not a lot of people, but there are also some people out there that think Lakers have what they need. They have the roster that they need. One of my topics here are the Lakers. Are we underestimating the Lakers and kind of underestimating what they could potentially do this upcoming season? Let me play something for you guys as well. I'm all queued up today. I got my sound clips ready to go. They're all ready here. Let me queue up. This is Kendrick Perkins on NBA Today yesterday. He was on with Bobby Marks, a friend of the show, has been on the show. Sedano, I know, was hosting the show as well. So take a quick listen. Here is Kendrick Perkins talking about the Lakers and how he thinks they're actually in a great position to really contend in the Western Conference. Take a listen.
Most important thing is that he's excited. He's motivated.
He's talking about LeBron there. I thought in the beginning he was talking about Luka, but he's talking about LeBron. But take a listen.
And that means that Rob Pelinka and the Lakers front office did their job this offseason, right? If he's coming in the training camp and he's happy and he's excited about this season, he's excited about the moves that they made. And I'm excited as well. I'm very high on the Los Angeles Lakers. I got them right up there with OKC and Houston, and I wouldn't be surprised if this team make it to the NBA Finals.
Stop right there, and he's going to go into a little bit more of why he thinks that. But think about that for a second. I don't know what Kendrick Perkins, what kind of sold him on the Lakers. What is it? What is it? Is it just as simple as the offseason acquisitions? Is it as simple as just seeing Luka in the offseason and seeing what he was able to do, and the fact that he doesn't have to worry about the trade stuff, the extension is done. Luka looks like he's in phenomenal shape. I mean, all that stuff. Take a listen to what he's saying, because he's not saying, hey, I think Lakers make the playoffs and then we'll see what happens. And that's kind of been the Lakers here for the last, you want to call it 5 years or so, as long as AD wasn't injured. No, he thinks that, hey, when the dust settles here, there's tiers, and Lakers are in one of those first tiers. Keep listening to Kendrick Perkins.
They have a lot of young veteran guys. I love what Rui Hachimura brings to the game. Austin Reaves, we saw flashes of what he could be last year for us, the strides he took offensively. Luka in great shape. They got a point of attack defender and Marcus Smart on the perimeter. And Deandre Ayton, I believe we're going to see the best version of him, something that we haven't seen in a long time. His mental is going to be there. So I'm high on this Los Angeles Lakers team. And if you're the Los Angeles Lakers, you feel good about what LeBron James is saying right now, because that means he's excited and motivated and he's pleased about what they did this offseason.
Bobby? Okay, so that is that's Kendrick Perkins, obviously breaking it all down, giving his thoughts, his opinion on the Lakers, and giving a take. If I could be honest with you, giving a take that is a little bit unique. I don't know if I've heard a lot of people out there that say that, yeah, the Lakers are a real championship contender and are going to be one of the, on a short list of some of these teams in the Western Conference doing what they do. So listen, we'll see how it plays out. This is the kind of the beauty for me doing a show like this on, on a daily basis and getting a chance to sit here and talk with you and read your comments and the way we react before the season even starts. Everyone's got their own perception on teams. Everyone's got their own perception on what the Houston Rockets are going to be now without Van Vliet, what the Oklahoma City Thunder are, defending champions. The Denver Nuggets got a squad. I like what Denver did in the offseason. I think they'll be phenomenal. Where do the Golden State Warriors fit in? Clippers made a lot of additions. They're old, but they got, on paper, they look really good. The Laker piece of this, I'm not hearing too many people say, hey, this is the squad that you got to watch out for going to an NBA championship. And if I'm going to be honest with you, yeah, I'm also not one of those that's talking about the Lakers being in a first tier. Here's what I will say. On paper, they filled a lot of gaps that they needed. On paper, they needed a big. They needed somebody that they can depend on. They needed somebody that would potentially be a defender. They needed a player like Marcus Smart. We'll see what Jake LaRavia brings. They needed these guys. Like I think the Lakers addressed exactly what they needed to address. And I've said this before, and I think people have made fun of Pelinka for this when he always uses the term flexibility, but he's given the Lakers a ton of flexibility. So what they kind of do from here and how they address the rest of the roster and what happens by the NBA trade deadline, I don't think they're that far away from really being able to make some noise. And Kendrick Perkins obviously believes the Lakers are right in the mix with those elite teams in the Western Conference. I still got to see it to believe it. I still think, I'm not 100% sure what Ayton's going to be. I do think a lot of the season is going to depend on Deandre Ayton, but I still need to see what the additions look like. I still need to see what LeBron's going to be in his 23rd season. I still need to see what that starting lineup looks like. I still want to see how Austin Reaves does jive with Luka. I still want to see, is Luka top 2 player in the league, or is he top 10, which I would say he's closer to top 2. I still got to see all that. So I'm curious about all that stuff. But if you're Kendrick Perkins, Perk didn't mix his words. He just basically said, yeah, I'm good. I'm good exactly how this is. I'm good with this roster, and goes from there. All right, let's take a look at some of the comments here. Let's see what we got here. All right. I got a couple other things that I'm going to get into as well. That will kind of, because I didn't really get a chance to do this, but I'm going to talk a little bit about Ayton. I'm going to talk a little bit about Marcus Smart. I got a chance to hear them yesterday. All right, here's Ruman Red Eye. I'm optimistic. I think regardless of the math, the Lakers have the potential, the motivation, and let's not forget they have 2 nuclear weapons. Okay? Some optimism there on this Lakers roster. Let's see what else we got here. Love that LaRavia talks about defense. Let's just hope he shows it on the court. Yeah, he did. Yeah, it's first time I got a chance to hear. I got to be honest. I don't know if you guys heard Jake LaRavia yesterday, but if I'm going to be honest with you, I'm kind of impressed with him. Calm, cool, collected, and very confident in his game. So let's keep that in mind. Okay, speaking of the roster, I'm going to do a couple things here real quick. I'm going to kind of hit on LeBron, and then I'm going to hit on the roster. And LeBron, I'm going to hit on 2 things. I'm going to hit on kind of how he addressed some of the conversation about the offseason, and then also what he thinks of the roster. Before I do so, I got to give a shout out to our main partner here. Shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. Thank you to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. I've told you guys this a number of different times. They are injury attorneys. They can help anybody in the state of California. Shout out to Brad Wallace and his team. Very appreciative of having them a part of the channel. They just re-upped. They re-upped here. We're very happy with their first year of this partnership on the channel. And this is the start of year number 2. So shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. I'll kind of keep it simple here. If you, family member, anybody you know has been involved in a serious injury, a wrongful death, you're not sure what to do, you're wildly intimidated by the situation, you got to go to a pro. And there's nobody better in the business than Brad Wallace and his team. We created a URL to kind of make this very simple for everybody. Just go to wallacewins.com/Sliwa. You get an absolutely free consultation. They'll help you out. They'll walk you through it. They'll kind of hold your hand through the process, and they can certainly point you in the right direction. I do appreciate this audience because, when you have real support from listeners for the partners, that's when you kind of got something. That's, I guess you can call it a full ecosystem. I love doing these shows, but as much as I love doing the shows, it's got to be a business, and this is the best way to make this and turn this into a business and to help other businesses where they could promote what they do on a daily basis on the channel. wallacewins.com/Sliwa, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. Shout out to everybody here, and shout out to Brad Wallace for being obviously a big part of the show and a big part of the channel. Okay, let's keep things moving here. I got another clip here that I want to share with everybody. This is going to be a LeBron piece of this. This is more on the roster. So, obviously I got a lot of angles I could take on LeBron, But this one specifically, I want to start it off with LeBron talking about the roster, why he likes the additions that the Lakers made. And this is kind of a perfect transition from what Kendrick Perkins was talking about. So take a quick listen here. Here's Bron talking about the Lakers roster, what they were able to do, and why he feels confident about where the Lakers are.
Yeah, and Jake, just adding, those three guys, competing against those guys for years. And obviously we know, the matchups that I had with Marcus over the years, especially when we was in the Eastern Conference, him in Boston, me in Cleveland, and just all those matchups that we had. Happy to have him. I know what he brings to the game. I know, that team is first, second, third, fourth, fifth when it comes to Marcus Smart. Adding a big guy like DA, his skill set is very high.
Okay, I'm gonna kind of pause this a couple different times because it's just gonna take me in my conversation with a couple of these players. Can I tell you guys the interview that I enjoyed listening to the most yesterday of everyone that talked? Everyone talked, right? If you're on the Lakers roster, you're talking yesterday. Marcus Smart was the interview that I enjoyed the most. And I'll tell you guys why. A couple different reasons. First off, that dude's just a winner. And listen, I'm not sure where his body is. I'm not sure if Marcus Smart will ever be the version that he was with the Boston Celtics. I think every Laker fan that is a fan of the NBA and is a fan of basketball, you didn't have to like Marcus Smart when he was playing and representing the Boston Celtics, but you had to respect him. And Marcus Smart's style, just kind of my interpretation of what Marcus Smart was in the league, that's a guy that you just wanted to have on your team. And hopefully the injuries that he's had, and he certainly hasn't been healthy, and he certainly hasn't had a chance to be the player that he wants to be. But here's a dude in LeBron who's been in the league for as long as he has and has gone up against every team's best defender for 20 plus years, because he's been the greatest player on the court for 20 plus years, one of the greatest players on the court, and how he's just kind of targets and goes out of his way to talk about his time against Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart was a beast with the Boston Celtics. And that's not because he dropped 30 points a night. That's not because he had 15 assists a night. It's because he knew his role. He played it perfectly. He was one of the best defenders on the court every time he laid foot on the hardwood. And I just enjoyed watching him play. Yesterday, listening to him, so polished with his answers, he brings this competitiveness, this championship pedigree, somebody that's been there, that's done that. I asked him a question as well, and just kind of, look, small things, the eye contact that he makes with you, how professional he is with his answer, how excited he is to be the older version of Marcus Smart that I think we all hope that he can become. So just to listen to LeBron talk about Marcus Smart, listen to some of these other players say, oh man, to have this guy on our team, because I remember when I used to battle against Marcus Smart, a lot of them had a lot of positive things to say. And I don't think it's BS. I think, a lot of times, especially on a media day, people are just going to say the right things. Anything positive about Marcus Smart, I believe it, because we watched him in the league for years. And I think Marcus Smart's, I just hope he's healthy, because I think he is. I think that's going to be such a phenomenal addition for this team. So he talks a little bit about Marcus Smart. Let's get him now talking about Deandre Ayton.
A guy like DA, his skill set is very high. His athleticism is high. And so I think he adds another dynamic to our team along with Jackson. That'd be a great 1-2 punch at our center position. And then adding a wing like Jake, a big wing who can shoot the ball, can handle the ball, but his toughness, sneaky athletic as well, is going to be great for our ball club. And I'm just looking forward to seeing how it comes together. And the best thing about it, we have a full year starting off at training camp. I think that's going to be very good for our ball club, going into this year.
All right, so that's Bron actually breaking down the team. I know a lot of the conversations, and I'll get into it. It's fine. It's just going to kind of comes with the territory. His future, how long he's going to, is this going to be his last season, all that stuff. We could talk about that stuff, and I think that's a conversation that's honestly going to be there all season long. But that's LeBron's actual thoughts on the roster. And I thought you guys would appreciate to hear that because he's talking about the basketball portion. And listen, maybe I'm wrong on this, but I do feel like there's a lot of people on this channel that like the basketball portion of these conversations, probably because I do as well. But that's not to say that there isn't going to be side stories or distractions or things along those lines. That just kind of comes with the territory. But LeBron immediately when he was asked about the roster, he went out of his way. Don't forget Jake LaRavia. And then obviously he goes on to talk about Marcus Smart, what Ayton's going to bring. Having that duo of Deandre Ayton and Jackson Hayes should help in the center position. And he goes on from there. So Bron feeling a certain way about the roster. Okay. Still have that will be it from a video perspective. Those are kind of the clips that I had that I wanted to share with everybody. Now more of what I have. I got a couple of quotes that I'm going to read, and then I want to hit on some other things. So I got this vibe yesterday. Again, this is based on nothing other than we've kind of seen this before with LeBron. For years, we've been saying, is this it for LeBron? Is LeBron, how much longer is LeBron going to be in the league? If you would have told me when LeBron left Cleveland and came to the Lakers that he was going to play 5 years with the Lakers, I'd be like, I don't know, 5 years, that gets him to his 20th season. Okay, that makes sense. 6 years with the Lakers, it's like, damn, he's going to go 21 seasons. 7 years with Lakers. He's on his 8th season. And I got no idea how many more years LeBron obviously is going to be a part of the Lakers, be a part of the organization and everything else. He had a one-on-one he did with Dave McMenamin. So outside of the regular conversation that he was having in the presser with everybody else, he also had a one-on-one with Dave McMenamin, and they hit on a few different topics, and more of it was kind of aligned with how long he's going to be playing here. Will his contract be a distraction? I want to read some of these quotes, and we could kind of do this together. So I'm going to pop this up with us. I thought it was a really good article, good questions by Dave McMenamin, and let's take a look together. Let me just make sure that's all there. Okay, it is. One of the questions, the fact that his contract situation and the fact that he's in the final year of his contract, something that's never happened while he's been a Los Angeles Laker, will that affect his performance this season? Here's what LeBron said. It will not have an impact. I'm super excited about the challenges and the excitement of our team. We added some new guys. We got another year under our belt. Got a full year with Luka, another year with the guys I've been with. So super excited about the team. I'm not worried about contracts at this point in my career. That doesn't bother me at all. Super humble to even have a contract, still and be able to play the game that I love still at this part of my career and take full advantage of it. We know that LeBron wants to compete for a championship. We know that based off of the article that came out or the statement that came out from Rich Paul during the offseason. Listen, that statement doesn't come out unless he is upset, unless he's, bitter about something, whatever you want to call it. At least coming into the season, my hope is that this becomes less and less a conversation as we go on. That is the hope, and it just becomes more and more about basketball. He did say another thing about, I'm going to try to find it here real quick. There was just one piece of this that I'm just going to mention, that coming into training camp, he's not sure how much he's going to practice, how much he'll participate in preseason. He said, obviously, I want to be out there as much as I can, but we know where I'm at, and the coaching staff knows where I'm at as far as me getting to place to we're all good as far as getting on the court. So we'll see what he does, eventually in year 23. I know there was one other piece that he said. He said something to the effect that he's not waiting for Bryce James, who's over at Arizona, just kind of talking a little bit more about retirement is a lot sooner than he probably maybe he's giving credit to or whatever the case is. But the fact he knows he's not playing for 3, 4, 5 more years or whatever the case is. I don't know if you guys get the vibe on this, and I'll start looking at the comments. I know there's a lot of comments there. But if you told me, just make a wild, educated guess, and one of these three options happen by the end of the season. Either LeBron plays another year with the Lakers after this year, either LeBron signs with a new team at the end of this year, or LeBron just stops playing basketball and retires after 23 seasons. I think the one most likely to me today, that could change once the season starts, and that could change, and we'll see what eventually happens. I think the one most likely to me at this point, I feel like LeBron will retire as a Los Angeles Laker and be done after this year is more likely than playing in his 24th season or wanting to go play for another team after this season. Maybe at the end of the day, that is completely wrong, and he's going to want to go try to compete for a championship. Maybe he wants to close his career in Cleveland. Maybe he wants to play a couple more years. Maybe the money is too good and he can't turn down $50 million, whatever the case is, whatever team would offer him $50 million. I got no idea. But the vibe that I walked away with yesterday, at least a piece of the vibe to me was a little bit more like, hey, could this be it? Could this be it for LeBron? Like, could this be the end? We'll have to wait and see what happens. But again, that's not based off of any insider information or any of that stuff. It's just more of a vibe based on getting a chance to watch him yesterday. Okay, let's take a look at some of the comments here, and then I got some stuff on Rui Hachimura that I want to get into as well. Him playing with another team at 42 would be crazy. All right, let's see what else we have here. Yeah, I mean, we saw a lot of those reports. I mean, I said this yesterday. I don't know if you guys saw. I saw, what was it? Let me think here real quick. I think I mentioned yesterday, Stephen A. Smith had something out there that, hey, I think he should go play for the Cleveland Cavaliers next year. Like, we're already talking about what he's going to do next year before this year even started. We'll see. That's a long ways away. Who knows what his, body is going to be like? Who knows any of that stuff? Just like Smart attitude. Derek Fisher would be proud of some of Smart's flops. I'm a fan. I mean, I don't know if a lot of people feel the same way that I do about Marcus Smart, but when I saw that addition, I was a big fan of it. Let's get a couple more in here. Smart and Lowry literally took over games down the stretch, one flop after another, dueling flops. That's it. After all that, that's the only thing you're taking away from Marcus Smart, that the guy flops. Gobert going to dunk on Ayton. I heard Ayton soft. I will say this. Ayton had some interesting quotes yesterday too. He had one. Let me see if I got it here. Let me see if I have it here, and let me try to find it here, because I did have something on Ayton that I thought was interesting. Ayton had said something. He said, it's actually an important quote. He said, "It's the biggest opportunity I can say of my career. Some people say it's my last leg. Some people say it's my last chance. Well, it's the opportunity I can say I'm truly not going to take for granted." I don't know what to expect from Ayton, and I think you guys have heard me say it enough. I don't have to keep repeating it. It feels like the Lakers season can have some real success if DeAndre Ayton is, has one of his best seasons so far in the NBA. If he can be reliable, if he can be motivated. He doesn't have the best perception around the league. Let's just be honest with each other. When he was leaving Portland, there were reports out there. It's like they just wanted to buy him out because they didn't want him around some of their young players. Ayton, this could be it for him. And I think he understands that this might be his best opportunity, his best chance of getting another contract in the league and getting a significant contract in the league and proving that, hey, I could still be a player in this league for the next 5 to 7 years. But I'm not going to lie to you guys. I got my doubts. I don't know. I don't know if something's going to click in his mind and all of a sudden it's just going to be all great and dandy. I'm not sure. But that quote really stuck out to me, that he says, some people say it's my last leg, that it's my last chance. I think there's some truth to that. And I think a lot of people would agree with it. All right, let me read a couple more comments. I got something on Rui Hachimura that I want to do real quick as well as we continue to go here. I would take Grimes over AR because he can guard point guards. I see a lot of people putting Quentin Grimes on there. I know he's dealing with a contract situation, as is Jonathan Kuminga. So I know that's been a conversation on the chat here since Friday or so. So I know a lot of people are taking that angle here. Ayton better not get distracted. All right. Ayton said all the right things yesterday. He was quick with his answers too. Nothing too crazy. I mean, maybe he's very, very comfortable behind a mic. Maybe he's not. But I think for Ayton, a lot of this is just going to be action. So we could all sit here and try to defend Ayton, or we could try to bury Ayton. It doesn't matter. Once the season starts, he's either going to be able to prove that he's the right player and he's going to be a player in this league for a while, or he's not. Or he's going to pick up his option with the Lakers, and you certainly don't want to see that because that means he didn't have that good of a season. I saw this thing, and I was going to do it yesterday, and I didn't do it. One of the players that's also just kind of always a conversation around the Lakers is, certainly Rui Hachimura. Everyone's so all over the place for Rui. I got to be honest with you. Either people think Rui Hachimura is the right trade piece to go get the right player, or they think Rui Hachimura should be in the starting lineup and he's a big piece. I probably fall more in the line of the middle of that. I don't need to see Rui Hachimura in the starting lineup. That's not a must for me. I think Rui Hachimura probably, if you can get the right piece, is a better trade piece. And that's, it's nothing personal against Rui. I don't know what I'm going to get from Rui Hachimura on a night in, night out basis. There was some articles that I was reading yesterday that his market would be around $25 million a year. Are you guys prepared the final year of his contract to give Rui $25 million a year? I don't think I would be. I'm going to read a quote here. Zach Lowe was doing his podcast, one of his recent podcasts. Here's what he said. He said, they can offer Rui Hachimura enough money to pique his interest. I think his extension would start somewhere around $26 million and go up from there based on his current salary. I think Rui Hachimura is good. I think he's actually underrated. Let's see what else he said here. He said, when I hear the discussions about who would come off the bench if they decide to start Marcus Smart, he's a de facto answer. And I get that because it's not going to be Deandre and you're not going to start small. Anyways, he goes on to talk a little bit about how he likes Rui Hachimura and that he's underappreciated with the Lakers. Do you guys think Rui Hachimura is underappreciated? I don't think he's underappreciated. I think Rui Hachimura kind of is exactly what he is. I think Rui Hachimura is a player that on one night you're saying to yourself, man, look at Rui. Does he got 13 points and 6 rebounds in the first half? And then on the next night, you're saying, damn, did Rui have 8 points and 2 rebounds? Isn't that kind of what Rui is? Rui was asked yesterday how they want him to be more aggressive. And this happens a lot when you're getting ready to ask a question to a player or a coach or front office guy, or whatever the case is. I had a question lined up for Rui. And it was kind of, what's his perfect role? What is, if Rui Hachimura can walk away from a game, what does it look like? And the question before me, somebody asked about his role. So I'm like, all right, well, I can't ask that. And Rui talked about how the team wants him to be aggressive. So my question to him was, is that tough for you to be like, you got Luka and you got LeBron and you got Austin Reaves. How do you know when to be aggressive? And how do you know when to just kind of take a back seat? And I think Rui Hachimura takes a back seat more often than he does. I'm taking the wheel and, let me be as aggressive as I possibly can. And he admitted, there are times where I'm not sure when to be aggressive because some of the players that are on the floor with him. He's a role player. And I think, with most role players, you're not 100% sure what you're going to get on a night in, night out basis. But I think especially with Rui, I really get confused with Rui Hachimura. I see his size, I see his potential, but I don't think it always matches the box score. And then there's other times where he outplays what I think he's going to do. So he's a little up and down for me. I'm not giving Rui Hachimura $26 million a year if I'm the Lakers front office. I don't think he's underrated. I think if you watch Lakers basketball every single night, like many of you do, and obviously I do as well, I don't think he's underrated. I think he kind of is exactly what he is. I don't know what I'm going to get from him on a night in, night out basis. I just don't. And I don't want to make it sound like I'm knocking Rui Hachimura. That's just my genuine, when I watch Rui Hachimura, that's my analysis of him. That's who he is. And I think that's based a lot specifically on what I'm referring to here. Okay, let me look at some of the comments here. And then I got something on Kawhi that I want to do. And then a couple things on the NBA, and we'll call it a day. I think Rui needs to toughen up, but the problem is it's not in his nature. And listen, at this stage of your career, if you're a rookie, I think you can evolve. Rui's not a rookie. So I think what he is today is probably what he's going to be. But to give him $26 million, and again, I think the thing that stuck out with me more from the Zach Lowe podcast is saying that he thinks he's underrated. I don't know. I just don't feel that way. I don't think he's underrated. I just need Rui to get some damn rebounds. I think you and a lot of people feel that way. 18 to 20 million, nothing more, nothing less. Okay, let me get a couple more in here. Again, that's talking about Rui Hachimura. So kind of gives you an idea. I think most people who are watching Rui Hachimura on a night in, night out basis kind of understand what his value is, what his strengths are, what his weaknesses are. So that's probably the best way that I can put it. Rui's playoff efficiency shooting the ball for his career is damn good. Gets great looks and takes advantages of them. I'll give him that. Okay, I got a couple more topics. We're going to call it a day. I appreciate you guys hanging out. Thank you all for being here. Let me give a shout out here to M Chi, if I'm saying that the right way, who's a new YouTube member. I really, really appreciate you being a member. I got a lot of people that have been hanging out, supporting the channel. So thank you for being a member. It's very simple to be a member. If you go on my channel, it says join. You could join. It's $3 a month to be an MVP member. So thank you very much for doing that. Let me read this comment here real quick. Thank you for the super. I really appreciate that as well. If you guys want to send a super in, 100% it will get read. I don't want anybody to feel obligated in doing it, but if you send a super, it's appreciated. Rob, optionality, Palenka. Marcus is a better version of Gabe. Jake is a better version of Dalton. Unless those guys miss games, I see limited minutes. Yeah, listen, the Gabe signing has not gone as planned, and we'll see what happens to Dalton Connect. JJ Redick had a lot of positive things to say about him last week. I thought Dalton has tried as best as he can to say, hey, me getting traded and then coming back, that's over. I'm not paying attention to it anymore. But until the season starts, I'm curious to see what Dalton brings to the table. I'm more curious to see what Marcus Smart and Jake LaRavia bring to the table. Less interested in seeing what Gabe and Dalton bring. That's just because I feel like I've already kind of seen that. Look, Connect still's got a lot of opportunities. I think the question with Dalton Connect is basically just going to be, how he'll fit with the Lakers. And is he better off somewhere else, or is he better off trying to, really be the best player that he can with the Lakers? MG, thank you again. Thank you for being a new member, brother. I appreciate you very much. Okay. Let me talk Kawhi here real quick. So Kawhi yesterday got a chance to talk about the allegations that he has. A couple NBA stories here real quick. Here's Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard was asked yesterday about the allegations. Pablo Torre, who's done his podcast, and did the Los Angeles Clippers and Steve Ballmer try to circumvent the salary cap to pay Kawhi Leonard money? We all know the story by now. Yesterday was the first time people got a chance to ask questions to Kawhi Leonard. Lakers did media day, so did the Clippers. Ramona Shelburne, I'm going to read her story that was on ESPN, and I got a lot of the quotes from here. Kawhi Leonard said he doesn't think it's accurate that he performed no services for Aspiration, bankrupt company now, when he signed as a sponsor here, a lucrative endorsement contract. Here's what he said. I understand the full contract and the services that I had to do. I don't deal with the conspiracies or the clickbait analysis or journalism that's going on. He's talking specifically about the Pablo Torre podcast. For those who don't know, actually, let me read one more quote. He was asked specifically about what Pablo Torre reported was a 4-year, $28 million contract. He says, I don't think it's accurate, but it's old. This is all new to you guys. The company went bankrupt a while ago, and he just basically denied it. And the first couple of questions were about, his relationship with aspiration. One more thing that I'm going to say on this, and just to read off the quote, he said, I'm not sure. I've got to look back at the books. It's more than that for sure. And the question was, do they owe him more than $7 million? He said, it's a lot more than $7 million. And then he said, no, but the company went belly up. It was fraud, as everybody knows. If you want to know more details about that company, you need to ask that company or the owner or whoever else is involved. So basically, Kawhi Leonard denied any wrongdoing. He said the NBA is going to do their job. None of us did any wrongdoing. That's it. We invite the investigations. It's not going to be a distraction for me or the rest of the team. I don't know what people were expecting to get from Kawhi. Obviously, he was going to deny this either way and just kind of throw it to the NBA. And Steve Ballmer's kind of doing the same thing, throwing it to the NBA. So we'll see what eventually happens. But he's denying the allegations. I've said this before. I don't know what's going to happen here. Does it look fishy? It does. Does somebody have to prove that, the Clippers tried to pay Kawhi Leonard basically $28 million extra dollars under the table? They're going to have to try to prove it. But does the whole thing just look bad for the perception of Steve Ballmer, the Los Angeles Clippers, and Kawhi Leonard? Of course it does. Is the NBA going to be able to find enough evidence to say we're dropping the hammer on the Los Angeles Clippers? I can't believe they did this. I can't believe they circumnavigated the salary cap. If they find the right evidence, I mean, I've said this a couple different times. You got to go as hard as you possibly can. I mean, you cannot be allowing a team to basically close the deal with a free agent because there's a backdoor channel to pay him more. Maybe it happens all the time in the NBA and sports. Maybe I'm naive when it comes to this. But whatever the case is, Kawhi addressed it yesterday, and I don't feel like we got any further. And I think it's, he's calling out journalism. He's calling out really Pablo Torre and his journalism and what he calls clickbait. So we'll have to see if they're able to kind of back that up and prove it, or if they're not. A couple other quick NBA stories, and then I'll look at your guys' comments and we'll call it a day. Giannis had an interesting quote yesterday, and we'll kind of keep it. I will say this at the end of the day, and I've said this a couple different times, keep an eye on Giannis and what happens in Milwaukee. I think Giannis' situation is much different than a lot of these other players, but here's what Giannis said. I had a great that was ownership. Here's what Giannis said. Every summer, there's truth to every report. And he's talking about how, basically about his future in Milwaukee. He said the same thing I've been saying my whole career. I want to be on a team that allows me and gives me a chance to win a championship and wants to compete at a high level. I think it's a disservice to basketball, to the game, to not want to compete at a high level, to want your season to end in April. It's pretty much the same. I want to compete with the best, and I want to win another championship. That's it. So basically what Giannis is saying is, as long as he feels like he can compete for an NBA championship, probably going to stay in Milwaukee. But if he doesn't, I don't know if he's saying there that all the cards are off the table, but what happened in the summer. There was a lot of rumors and discussion. Now, nothing happened, and they ended up signing Miles Turner. They ended up stretching Damian Lillard for, I think, 5 years, which I think is going to be I think it's going to be an awful move, but we'll see what eventually happens. Sometimes you get desperate. Desperate times call for desperate measures, and I think that's a little bit what the Milwaukee Bucks are doing. I'd just say keep an eye on Giannis. I think his quotes have been very interesting over the last couple of years, and I think he wants to stay in Milwaukee. I think he wants to win another championship with Milwaukee. We'll just see if that's realistic or not. Kevin Durant says he plans on signing an extension in Houston. So KD, probably his last stop will be with the Houston Rockets. Nikola Jokic, my plan is to be a Nugget forever. So Nikola Jokic, I'm not signing an extension this summer. Did it more from a business perspective, the amount of money that he can make by not signing that extension. But I don't think many people think Nikola Jokic is going to go anywhere. And if you just take the two players, if you say, hey, Giannis goes somewhere, Nikola Jokic goes somewhere, I think we'd all agree Jokic would be the player Giannis would be the player that I think wouldn't end his career in Milwaukee over Jokic ending his career in Denver. So we'll see what eventually happens there. Those are the NBA stories that I have. The last thing that I'll just mention, Dame on a potential return this year, probably not going to happen. He said he's going to take his time. So those are all of the NBA news that I have out there. For those that are looking for a phenomenal sports day today, MLB playoff schedule. In less than an hour, MLB playoffs start. So the Tigers taking on the Cleveland Guardians. That's at 10 a.m. The Padres in Chicago taking on the Cubs. The Red Sox taking on the New York Yankees. That's a 3 p.m. first pitch. And then the final game is going to be the Cincinnati Reds taking on the Dodgers. That's at 6 o'clock. So a full day of MLB playoffs. You guys know my squad. You guys know my San Diego Padres here. I cannot put this on with my headphones. We'll see what the hell happens. I will tell you this. Freaking baseball, my God, the most nerve-wracking sport out there possible. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, by the time I do my show tomorrow, we'll see how some of these teams are doing, how some of these squads are doing. All right, my people, that's all I got for today. Basically hit on everything here. And, that's just that's what we got here. Let me see what we have here. Let's see. Got some people here talking about the Bucks. Let's see another one here if I could get this. They already found the evidence NBA doesn't want to drop the hammer on Ballmer. Might have to, might not have any choice. Slee, look up how many Euro players have ever asked to transfer. It's only one or two ever. That's interesting. Interesting point there. Let's see what else we got here. Let's see. Slee, hate that you're a Padre fan, but respect. It's my city, my brother. It's my city. I mean, you guys all know that. Grew up a Laker fan in San Diego. So, my affiliations are San Diego. I got to stay with my team here. By the way, that's just how it goes. I love you all either way, but that's my team. We'll see what happens in this upcoming series against the Cubbies. We'll see what happens. All right, that's all I got for today. What'd we go? Almost an hour 10, $1.08, something along those lines. I'll be back tomorrow morning, starting at what do we have? 8 a.m. So back to 8 a.m. I'll just put this on then. Got to at least. Is it straight? It's not straight at all. There we go. I'm nervous. City's never won a freaking championship. The love of God. Win one damn championship. All right, I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you for being a part of the show. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Watch as much Major League Baseball playoffs as you possibly can. I'm going to go pray over here for about 4 hours because my baseball team puts me through hell. All right, love you guys. See you guys tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day.